Good evening, family. How y'all doing? I hope everybody had a great holiday. I just stopped by today to say, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. I know it's scary, but it's necessary. As I thought about this topic, vulnerability, I thought about myself, and for so long, I was stuck and I couldn't move forward in my life in different areas because I was afraid of being vulnerable. As I thought about vulnerability, I thought about myself, and the other day I mentioned the fact that I had issues because my dad was absent from the home after my parents divorced. And at some point, I began to feel pain and I began to feel sad and different things because my dad was not in the home and my dad was absent. It caused me to feel pain, and at some point I buried it away, and I said I was no longer going to let it hurt me. But guess what? It caused me a lot of issues, and at some point I had to be honest, I had to be vulnerable, and I had to open myself up to admit that I did want my dad in the home. It hurt me that he wasn't there, and that it caused me a great deal of pain. It made me feel insecure. It made me feel rejected. It made me feel abandoned. And as a result, it affected how I showed up in my life. And so at some point, my fear of being vulnerable, I had to release that, and I had to be vulnerable. Because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be talking to you all now. I wouldn't be telling you the things that I'm telling you. And I'm saying that to you. If you're out there and you've been hurt and you've had pain because maybe you had an absent dad, or you had pain maybe even because you were in a relationship that didn't go well, and you're afraid to be vulnerable and move forward into another relationship, or even just to be happy in your life, to open yourself up to whatever it is that you may need to open yourself up to, that you may be vulnerable. You may be afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of saying that hurt me, afraid of saying I like that, or I like you, or I love you, or whatever the case may be. I just want to say, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. If you're suffering and you're dealing with some inward pain that has been on the inside of you and it has hurt you, and you think it's hidden, it's not hidden. It can be seen. It's seen in how you talk. It's seen sometimes in how we walk. It's seen in how we are prospering in our lives. It's seen on how we show up in our jobs, how we show up in relationships. It just affects how we show up. And so I just want to say that we got to admit that we're in pain, and we got to get some help. But the first thing we need to do is be honest to ourselves that, yep, it did hurt me. It hurt me when my dad wasn't there. It hurt me when my spouse walked away. It hurt me when my friend left me as a friend, or whatever your case may be. But you got to be honest about it. And I want to say this last thing. For me to cry made me feel like I was being weak. So for many, many years, I would not cry. If something hurt me, I would do my best to the best of my ability not to let a tear come down my eye. There's been times when I would hyperventilate because I was trying to hold in my tears. But guess what? We have those tears for a reason. They help the pain on the inside of us. They serve as a release. And so I'm not saying be a big crybaby. What I am saying is you got to be honest. You got to be vulnerable. For a long time, even if someone died, I would try to hold it in. And we get a time for mourning and for grieving, but I just had to let go of my fear of being vulnerable, and it has helped me so much. It has helped me so much so that I'm able to help someone else. So I want to say to you, if something in life has hurt you, or some things in life have hurt you, deal with them. Be vulnerable. But you don't have to be vulnerable with everybody. Find that trusted person, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a coach, whether it's a family member or a close trusted friend, and get some help. And your life will never be the same. Love y'all. Have a great night. Peace.